Hello everyone! Welcome to the final conference of the 6th season of TED Club. Here with you today, all the big team of Junior Academy of Sciences of Ukraine and the language school Brainy English. My name is Kate and here is Irina, and we'll be hosts for this event. We are happy to see all our participants and guests.
Make yourself comfortable, get some tea, and let's get started. But do not throw popcorn and crunch chips too loudly, because you can miss the talks of our participants.
Well, before we start, what a nice bag you have, and what is there? And you don't see, but I have such an opportunity. Oh, there is a nice bottle there too. How did you get this? I also want it.
This is a merch of the TED Club.
Oh.
Aren't these things cool?
Merch always makes style, and I think our participants and spectators want to know how can they get this.
And they have a real chance too. Guys, if you want to have such cool gifts, take part in the next TED Club. And if you don't want to wait, join our competition, which will last for these 2 days. The conditions are simple. Listen carefully to the speakers and write in the comments on the YouTube channel of Brainy English which topics are the most relevant and relatable for you and why. We also ask our wonderful audience who is present with us today to take part in our competition. Please, feel free to view the comment section using your mobile phones, but remember to turn off the sound. We accept answers in English, and tomorrow, at the end of our event, we will choose the most active spectators and draw the coolest prizes among them.
No doubts, our speakers are really worth listening to. For several months, these talented students have been mastering the nuances of public speaking and rapidly studying English. And they have been doing this to convey their ideas, thoughts, and beliefs to you. After all, TED is a collection of ideas worth spreading.
Wow, such an inspiring video. I can't wait to listen to our participants.
Then let's move forward with the presentations. This year we divided the student speeches into several subject categories. The first one is productivity hunters. Irina, do you have a feeling that you do a lot of things but still don't have time for anything?
Yes, it happens sometimes. It's like a nightmare when you're chased by the bloodthirsty villain from Marvel. And you try to run away, but you can only barely move your legs. I don't even know how I can change it.
Maybe you should try using the calendar. It may help you to spend time effectively and with pleasure. Our first speaker, Timothy Nehoda, will explain how to master the art of friendship with the calendar. Please welcome Timothy with a round of applause.
again. Hello. Have you ever wasted your whole day binge watching, scrolling through social media, or just wasting your time? Have you ever felt an important task or a project because you put it off till the last day? It happened to me. I found myself in a never-ending cycle of procrastination and overworking. I just couldn't help myself but get caught into this vicious circle again and again. Of course, none of the school projects at the time succeeded. I guess we all share the same problem of constant unpunctuality when it comes to doing tasks in advance or just in time. It is really hard to do massive amounts of work or just small tasks up to date and enjoy our day at the same time. Our day has only 24 hours, and sometimes you just don't get that free hour to get the job done in advance. Or we just can't manage our time properly. How do we enjoy our day, meet the deadlines, and even do something in advance? You might say, why do I even need to do something in advance? I'm at the peak of my cognitive performance when minutes slowly fade away, bringing me to the final deadline. Actually, it might work for a couple of times. However, there are some days when the creative part of your brain is just not working. And if this type of a day happens to be on the last day of your deadline, it will be a mess, believe me. I guess it ain't worth taking a risk. The first thing that comes to mind when talking about problems with unpunctuality is the schedule. So, if it's that simple, why aren't people still using it? Why do we need to suffer all this if it's that simple? Actually, it's not that simple, and most people don't want to set their schedules because they have full perception of how we should use them. Most people imagine a calendar like this. What's wrong with the first half of our day? All tasks are planned in advance, and it seems like it is the most productive day someone could ever have. Well, this day could only be possible if you were a robot, not a human. Of course you can work like that for a day or two, but our goal is to find a permanent solution, not a temporary fix. The main problem here is the schedule you see only represents a full working day, without any breaks or activities that you enjoy. You simply cannot enjoy your life in this manner, because we all have hobbies and downtime after all. Furthermore, only a small percentage of people can work like that for more than 2 days without burning out. Your calendar is your close friend with whom you can negotiate and find your perfect balance. It doesn't mean that you need to ignore your responsibilities and just relax. The schedule is your time budget for a day, and you want to spend this 24-hour budget in a way that in the end of the day you can tell yourself, I'm in a better state than I was yesterday. Your goal is to negotiate with yourself, balance work and daily enjoyments, and still complete all your planned responsibilities. Before we start planning, we need to identify our goals for the following day. And I can tell you from my own experience that it is better to write them in advance, as it is much easier to wake up with the feeling of an upcoming routine. The most important part is the beginning of the day. Setting your waking time is crucial because it sets your circadian rhythm for the day. So I would suggest you wake up at the same time every day, whether it's weekends or working days. Plus, waking up at the same time reduces the chance of getting a sleep paralysis. Aside from sleeping, we need to devote some time for our basic needs like eating or taking a shower. Once this step is done, we need to write down our goals because we don't want to flit between all the tasks without a primary goal, as it won't get us anywhere. Once this step is done, our schedule should look like this. Now that our goals are set, we need to kind of choose which task requires more creativity and put it in the first half of our day. For example, if we choose between doing algebra and writing scenario for an upcoming presentation, we would put the writing in the beginning, because our brain is fresh and not tired as it is in the evening. And in my own experience, I don't really succeed doing anything creative in the evening, and I know very few people who can do that. So, prioritizing creative tasks is the key. Our next step is to decide the right proportion of work and reward. You probably notice that it is really hard to focus on one thing for more than 2 hours, because our concentration starts to fade away after approximately 1 hour. And of these 2 hours, you can only work efficiently for 1 hour. We really waste 1 precious hour of work. Instead of working for 2 hours straight, we need to split it up into a different part. For instance, your evening tasks is to learn your history course materials. You need to regurgitate a ton of monotonous information. It is hard to do it in a row. So we take our 2 hours and split them up into 4 different parts. Now we have 30 minutes of studying and 5-minute break following after it. This part you can really do in a way that is comfortable for you. I usually do 30/5 minutes, but you might work 45/5 minutes if you have enough concentration. But the key is a 5-minute pause, as it is enough to refresh our brain, according to psychologist Myrtle Lobdell, who is extremely popular by his Study Less, Study Smart video. Remember that you can move your tasks and even put something off. Try not to overwork yourself. Once this step is done, our schedule should look like this. And it is still missing something: our precious hobbies and relaxations. Actually, this is a pretty efficient and busy example of an evening, but we can still find some time for our hobbies. For example, I really like reading. I have some time left before my bedtime, so I put reading at the end of my day. In general, I would suggest you allocate more active hobbies during the first half of your day. I don't think I need to explain why you don't want to play football 15 minutes before going to bed. Let's recap together. In order to combat unpunctuality, we should set and use our schedule properly. It involves waking up at the same time, prioritizing our goals and tasks, allowing time for our basic needs, providing time for our hobbies, splitting up exceptionally demanding tasks into different parts with little breaks, and most importantly, being honest with ourselves. I've introduced you to the friend of all productive people, the schedule. We have learned all the theoretical aspects of building a proper schedule. Now comes the hardest part of our journey. We need to follow our plan as precisely as possible. And I will assure you that you won't complete 100% of your planned schedule on a first day, because a strong friendship cannot be built in a single day. You can become friends with a schedule only through negotiation and persistence. But we can alleviate our sufferings a bit by doing everything step by step. So I have a little challenge for you. Plan your ideal morning using the pieces of advice I mentioned, and try waking up and going to bed at the same time for the next 7 days. And don't forget to get a sufficient amount of sleep for yourself. I would suggest you sleep at least 8 hours in order to be productive and energetic throughout the day. Watch how this affects your daily routine and mood, and only then try planning your day and evening. And don't forget to set your alarm clock. Thank you for your attention.
After such a speech, I'm definitely convinced that time management can do wonders.
Yes, it would be very interesting to know more about this topic.
Irina, you are lucky because you have such an opportunity. Our next participant, Vlad Levchenko, has come a long way to learn how to manage his time, and now he'll share his experience with us. Please welcome our next presenter, Vlad Levchenko, and don't forget about applause.
Have you ever wanted to do something, but you had no time for that because you were playing video games or watching for videos in YouTube or Instagram? That's what most people do at the age of 12 and even older. That's because they think that they relax in this way. And that's why they don't know how to use their time correctly. I wish we would have enough time for everything. Everything started from the moment I realized why time is important. I realized that if I want to achieve something, I have to use my time carefully. Можно сначала? Have you ever wanted to do something but you had no time for that because you were playing video games or watching full videos in YouTube or Instagram? This is what most people do at the age of 12 and even older. That's because they don't know how to use their time correctly. I wish we would have enough time for everything. So everything started from the moment I realized that if I want to achieve something, I have to have a goal and a plan, and that I have to use my time correctly. A goal and a plan are very important from your results. Also, at that time, at 12 years old, I decided who I want to become in the future. After that, I written the list of my interests. I wrote the things I like and that I want to do. And I've also written what I should do to become good in them. So my first advice is to know what you want to achieve and what should you do to do that. After that, I had a lot of things to do in my list, so it even was a little bit hard to choose what to do. It was very important to prioritize things because my results relied on the things I do. So I would highly recommend you to focus on the most important things first. Next, let's talk about something I call time eaters. We all have them. Those are things that waste our time when we use them. Those can be everything: video games, social media, or something else. And when I was 12, it was the time when I just started to don't waste my time. I've noticed that I spend 5 or 6 hours every day using my mobile phone. So from that moment, I've started to minimize my time eaters by reducing the time I use them. So my next advice is to try to minimize using your time eaters. It's pretty easy. Everything you have to do is to write a list of things that you use most and that you think they are useless. Next advice is closely related to the one before. Imagine situation. You are working on something really very important, and then something distracts you. You just forget about that. And in these situations, this is one of the most common situations how it happens in life. Because sometimes it may be hard to focus on something. There are many things around us, those time eaters. So my next advice is to try to focus on something you do. So now we are closely coming to our time management methods, and today I would like to tell you about some I personally use in life. And the first one is to choose what things are most important for you. If you are a visual person, you can try to use the Eisenhower matrix. it's a really useful tool for decision matrix. It is a square where it has 4 squares in it, and with it you can see what things are more important for you now and what should you do now. So my first time management advice is to choose the most important things to do first. And the second method is really widely used in life. It's about dividing the process or what you do into several steps. Imagine you are solving a math problem. Why do you think in the high school most of the problems I solved step by step? Well, that's because it's a lot easier to do something in actions and then combine the results and get an answer. So it may be really useful to divide the process and do something step by steps. Or another small example from life. Imagine you are creating a project. Me personally, when I start, I create a plan of my speech. So it may be also a good example of this. So today we talked about some time management methods. We talked about what is time. And the last thing I would like to say is that it's very important to use knowledge we get. Thanks.
I wish I could use my time more effectively, but there is one thing, starting with P and ending with procrastination. I cannot even enlist all the things that may distract me from my own work, including videos from TED Club or TED Talks. Irina, let's try to draw a map of procrastination, and what would it look like?
Well, I would definitely have the lake of coffee breaks, the bay of online shopping, and the valley of urgent cleanup.
And I seem to have the PlayStation Mountain and the Netflix shows hills, definitely.
And don't forget about the deadline graveyard.
Gosh, a lot of my tasks are buried there. But if seriously, is it true that postponing things prevents you from living and working, or can a procrastinator succeed? Alexander Sharlai will answer this questions from his own experience. Alexander, the stage is all yours.
Do you often leave an item on your to-do list again? Do you often leave an item on your to-do list for a long time even though it's important? If you answer yes, you might think that you are just lazy. But raise your hand if you feel guilty for doing nothing and at the same time being lazy.
Until you listen to that, and then stop
Well, I
listening to
see.
me. If a sauce
Maybe
cuts
I
you
can
from
surprise you, but you're
For
not
some,
lazy. You're just
this picture
a
seems like
procrastinator,
provocation.
and you're
For
not
some,
alone.
this
I
picture
had a lot
seems
in
stupid.
common with a procrastination,
But
especially
will
due to the
prove
pandemic.
that
I
global
passed some
warming is not
important
as bad
tasks
as
or
we think.
work
I'm sure everyone has heard
at last
about
moment
this
before
term
the
more than
deadline.
once.
What is
Earth
more,
warming
I
now, the glaciers are
also
melting,
ignored
natural disasters are
important
occurring.
tasks,
So, in
important
general,
assignments in favor one that is much easier. And what is the biggest problem of it, that I feel guilty or ashamed for my procrastination. So procrastination and laziness, it's different things. Procrastination is an active process. You choose something much easier, and you choose something that instead of that you should be doing, and so on. In contrast, laziness suggests apathy, inactivity, and just like unwillingness to act. But you also can be a procrastinator if you fill your day with low priority task, start a high priority task, and then go off to make a coffee. You also can be a procrastinator even if you just wait for right mood, I mean to be in right mood, for right time, for right place, and so on. Well, all this point, it makes you a procrastinator. Pardon. Sometimes I really hated myself for this. I mean, being a procrastinator. And how you can understand that procrastination laziness is different thing, but did it make some of you or me a bad person or even a loser? Well, sometimes I really hate myself for being a procrastinator. Did it interfere with achieving my aims? Definitely no. Even with such problem, I could win the bronze medal in the Genius Olympiad. Yep, I did everything at the last moment. But besides it, I've managed to have fun with my friends, to get relaxed, and at the same time work properly. Question is not about when you do your work, but how. I worked on my scientific project, maybe I can surprise you, but also as a procrastinator. I mean, I did everything at the last moment, by the way, my speech too, but at the same time, I did it properly. And finally, I have really good scientific work that even is useful for society. So even if you used to do everything at the last moment, but you did it as you should, so time doesn't matter at all. So the main question is, can you be successful if you are a procrastinator? And obviously yes. Procrastination doesn't mean that you will be less successful than others. It's just part of you. So stop blaming yourself for procrastination. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexandre, and let's move on to the next category, Earth Guardians.
As far as I understand, this category will be about environment. And Irina, be honest, do you really believe in global warming?
Why should we believe if it already exists? It's our reality, and to tell the truth, I'm really worried about the future of our planet.
Wait, but what if it is not so bad? Maybe global warming is a chance for people to reach a new, higher level of the development. At least our next presenter, Nikita Nikulin, believes in this idea.
To begin with, I ask everyone to listen to the end. Do not form thoughts until you listen to the end, and don't stop listening to me if your thoughts are different from mine. For some, this speech may seem like a provocation. For some, this speech may seem stupid. But it will prove to you that global warming is not as bad as we think. I'm sure everyone has heard about this term more than once. The Earth is warming up, the glaciers are melting, natural disasters are occurring. So, in general, what do we have? Global warming is bad, we need to get rid of it, and so on. So I thought too, until the moment I analyzed and realized that GV is not so bad. Why, you'll say? It's clear to everyone that there's nothing good in GB. Forest fires, melting glaciers, extinction of species, everything is caused by it. At a certain extent you will be right. But let's look at humanity now. We'll start with new UN environmental offices, which unite scientists all over the world and which publish reports about the condition of our planet every 7 years. And to understand the scope, this year's report included about 4,000 pages. Second is massive associations of people that consider it their duty to help and save our planet. And then regional summits, educational programs for kids and adults all around the world. And for different organizations and countries. As for me, all these associations, environmental organizations, etc. shows that humanity has finally realized how destructive their forces can be, and people will finally become more responsible toward different things, our new devices, and will explore what impact these things have. And also I think such international communities will help enrich the culture of different countries and help at least a little to unite our planet. Little bonus. Now there are achievements and a huge progress in transport. Before the popularity of global warming, people mostly drove gasoline or diesel cars. And now there are numerous tests and debates about what type of fuel we should use. Gasoline, diesel, gas, electricity, hydrogen, and so on. And this is good, because in the future, in which I hope these debates will end, we will be able to see a car that is worth using everywhere, which is less expensive in terms of fuel and production and which does not cause imaginable harm to the environment. So I think GB is pushing humanity in a completely new stage of development in which everything will run on clean and renewable energy, and factories will not generate waste at the same time. And this is really what I believe, but still there's a small catch. Will we have time to develop so quickly that we would save our planet or move the entire population to another one that suits us? Global warming is gaining momentum. Every year it gets worse and worse. So what can we do? It is to wait for this new stage of development and do everything in our power. Start from something small. Sort trash, try to use public transport, avoid food. Sometimes try to go to various volunteer activities. Perhaps donate some money to an environmental organization you trust. Or just start using reusable bags. I'll show how I do. I come from Ukraine, and due to certain circumstances, many citizens of our country do not pay attention to various pollutions and don't worry about it. But I think this is fundamentally wrong. Therefore, I often take part in various projects. For example, in 2020, I increased the eco-awareness of children in school from the UNICEF organization, and in 2021, I helped the Made in the P organizations with holding an eco-festival. And these are some of few examples. Imagine how much greener the world would be if you and your family participated in volunteer tree planting or garbage collection activities throughout the year, at least on weekdays. Global warming is what pushes us to develop for years to come, and also makes us take more responsible attitude towards what surrounds us. And also a reminder for those who do not believe in everything that is happening, or those who do not consider GB to be something important. You, yes you, will see the changes will come, and they will come and make their adjustments so quickly that nothing can be done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be harmful to the planet, and then I promise you, you will see that new stage of development and a future full of a beautiful nature. To begin with, I ask everyone to listen to the end. Do not form thoughts.
Nikita's arguments convinced me. And now, of course, if an asteroid does not strike us, but I hope that we will learn how to change its trajectory by then.
You know, meeting all these smart young speakers that are ready to cope with the environmental problems we encountered with, it gives me hope that everything may be changed. And our next Earth Guardian, Kirill Skarjanets, calls for joint efforts in resolving common problems. Let's listen.
Imagine a person living in his house. He starts breaking the windows, setting it on fire, crushing everything. Does it seem logical to you? No? But what if I tell you that we are doing the very same thing to our home, our one and only home, planet Earth? I mean that people behave in a counterproductive way when doing things that harm the environment. For example, did you know that according to the World Resources Institute, about 940 million tons of CO2 emissions leak out of landfills every year? That 57% of the global food emissions come from animal products, while they make up only 18% of the world's calories. That around 50,000 square miles of forest, lungs of our planet, are lost each year. And I believe you understand. Then even if our chainsaws run on biofuel, it's not a solution. Not at all. We can already see the consequences of what we are doing. For example, not far away from my house is a large fizzy drink factory. And all the wells and lakes and rivers that are close to it are completely dry. It is because of the factory that is pumping out all the underground water springs. And the government does nothing to stop this. And this is only a tiny, tiny bit of all the bad things we do to our dear planet Earth. We behave like we don't live here. It's not ours. And we have 50 more Earths for us to live on after we completely destroy this one. Of course, you can say that the cosmic area is near. We will colonize the galaxy. Humanity will become universe-wide. But in fact, it won't be that soon before we will be able to colonize other planets. And even if we will, there's no guarantee that we will find a planet so perfect, with living conditions similar to the ones on Earth, that we'll be able to live on it. And we don't know whether it will happen sooner than Earth is going to become absolutely impossible to live on. This summer, I've gone to the Carpathian Mountains, and I've been wandering in the forest, feeding squirrels and birds, taking photos of giant trees and various peculiar plants, enjoying every second. And then I thought how irresponsible humans are when cutting down trees. I imagined how those mighty trees fall under the heat of axes, how squirrels and other forest dwellers run for their lives away from their destroyed homes. Not only do people destroy the planet's lungs, but also destroy different biodiversity hotspots. This thought was absolutely unbearable to me. Humans are also a part of nature, but while possessing power and intelligence, we must realize our responsibility for its weak and fragile part, as well as for the whole ecosystem. Every single person is responsible for their actions. Everyone is a part of the big Earth family. A person who acts without paying attention to the harm that his action caused to the environment could benefit short period-wise, but in the long run, he will suffer from the consequences of the climate change that his actions provoked. The only solution that I see that will help us prevent irreversible changes is if all people realize this problem and will join forces in order to stop damaging nature and our planet, our common home. So, let's start with me. What do I do to save our home? I try to minimize my paper consumption because it is made out of wood. In general, I consume all other goods, water, electricity, as little as possible. Even though my school is pretty far away from my home, I go there on foot. I do not use a car or a bus, because it is very important to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, oil in particular. I don't eat beef and I don't drink milk because these products are one of the most eco-unfriendly. But of course, I realize that the impact of my actions is so tiny that it is not going to change or stop anything. But my idea is to scale my actions. The more people will realize the problem and join me and my actions, our shared effort will start to actually have an impact. The more people will join, the more tangible the impact will be. Just like the tiny rills merge in a powerful mountain stream, crushing everything on its way. I was excited that at the 26th Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, world leaders promised to work together and conserve forests and the ecosystem. They committed to halt and reverse forest loss and land degradation by 2030. And I do hope that they will keep their promise. And for that to happen, people from all around the world should support and vote for politicians who respect science, and we need to hold them accountable for implementing the most effective climate change strategies. But we shall not count on the government only, but join our forces to speed up the prevention of catastrophic consequences of climate change. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, compared humanity to James Bond, strapped to a doomsday device, desperately trying to work out which colored wire to pull to turn it off, while a red digital clock ticks down remorselessly to a detonation that will end human life as we know it. Except that the tragedy is that we are not in a movie, and the doomsday device is real, and the clock is ticking irrevocably. A global survey published by the BBC illustrates the depth of anxiety many young people are feeling about climate change. Nearly 60% of young people approached said they felt very worried or extremely worried. More than 45% of those questioned said feelings about the climate affected their daily lives. 3/4 of them said they thought the future was frightening. Over half say they think humanity is doomed. 2/3 reported feeling sad, afraid, and anxious. Many felt fear, anger, despair, grief, and shame, as well as hope. One 16-year-old said, "It's different for young people. For us, the destruction of the planet is personal." So each person, no matter young or old, who is troubled by the future of Earth, by climate change, by the preservation of the environment, has to act immediately. One human alone can do nothing. Humanity, as a closed-knit system, is capable of doing things that are nearly impossible to imagine. Could a person 100 years ago possibly assume that one day we could explore the mysterious dark space above the sky? As we can see, human civilization was able to do even that. So only together we will be able to save our common house, Mother Earth, It's green forests, blue seas, fresh air for us and the next generations. Let us do it together, and let us do it for each other. Thank you very much.
This is a very important topic, isn't it, Kate? Why are you sighing?
Well, recently I rewatched The Lord of the Rings, and listening to Kirillo, I remembered all these picturesque green hills with neat houses, and I want to live there, not in this asphalted jungle with grey concrete boxes.
It seems you have a real chance to make your dream come true. Our participant, Yaroslava Yachnik, came up with a way to make high-rise buildings cozy and green. And now she will explain how exactly. Yaroslava, you are welcome.
Dear listeners, raise your hand if you live in a multi-storied building. And no, I'm not talking about these ordinary beautiful skyscrapers. Well, it's too banal and, frankly speaking, not suitable for the citizens of my country. I'm talking about this. Gorgeous, amazing, marvelous, don't you think so? Yeah, it may sound hilarious, but the vast majority of Ukrainian citizens live in these masterpieces. Well, these places of living are strong and solid, but the view of them, as you can see, is not really nice. Grey, huge stone monsters which local people observe every day. In fact, these places of living affect our lives badly. It's not a secret that people living in grey, gloomy cities suffer from mood disorders and anxiety at a disproportionately high rate. And I can tell it from my experience. My hometown is a nice, cozy place where you can find a lot of low-rise buildings. So when I started living in a big city, I felt the difference immediately. Constantly encountering these concrete giants bring dullness and despair to me. You're probably somewhere down in the dumps, but fortunately, I have a solution. We need to bring them down. No, of course not. No one would change the whole building, its structure, shape, etc. It's too expensive and irrational. But what if the new implementation of greenhouses would be made? Well, it doesn't solve all the problems of people, but thanks to the eco-friendly design, we can improve our lives and change our way of thinking in a good way. Sounds impossible, unreal, and even quaint, right? But my idea will change your mind and shed light on the new alternative way of designing multi-storied buildings. It's time to massive changes. Raise your hand if you have heard about the preserved moss. I knew that. Actually, I could say so even if there were more hands, but never mind. You may have seen a few displays in high-end hotels, luxury spas, pools and gym, and even residential apartments covered with this plant. Nowadays, the preserved moss is used only in the interior of our houses. But why wouldn't we use it in the exterior? That's the solution. We can change the external part of the ugly multi-storied buildings. Having browsed the huge amount of websites and internet links, I understood that my idea can be true. So, let me consider the benefits of the preserved moss. Preserved moss is the moss in which all biological processes are stopped and water is replaced by a specific mixture that keeps this plant for decades to come. It practically does not differ in the tactile sensation. It doesn't afraid of watering, contrary to your thesis. It doesn't afraid of sun, dust, like hot temperatures, and even change of government. Can moss have any more advantages? Undoubtedly. You can attach an advertisement and grab attention of the audience immediately thanks to this plant. Let me set you an example. Let's Do It Ukraine, an eco-friendly organization which is a member of the international project Let's Do It World. This year, on the 18th of September, the ambassadors of other countries came to Ukraine to support this movement and were upset because of the insufficient number of volunteers. They said that in our country, people are oblivious of it, and in other countries, the ads can be seen almost everywhere about this movement. Almost everywhere. You know what? We can hang a huge inscription right there so that anyone could see it. Yeah, that will do. But the name itself is not so catchy, and if we add some greenies, well, it looks unusual and environmentally friendly now. Let's compare these two pictures. The first one looks like an ordinary ads, and the second will grab the attention of passers-by immediately. So it's up to you to decide which one you would prefer. But let's return to our places of living. Recently, I have surveyed people who live in ordinary multi-story buildings. 66% of people are sure that the easiest way to achieve happiness, excluding the option of escaping to the Maldives or stealing $1 million, is for those who live in aesthetically beautiful cities and have a good mood on their way to work, home, university, etc. when they see beautiful nature around them. 93% of people are sure that it is possible to introduce such a plant element into their houses, and 95% think that their well-being will improve after seeing this type of house. 58% of people are sure that this plant element would be a perfect design for our cities. And unfortunately, 70% find this idea real, but not for our country, unfortunately. It's upsetting that such a share of people think so, but we can change it. We can start from one building, then more, then a whole district and more. Imagine how it will be nice to see the beauty of nature in your own houses. It would be also great if there were more green areas in our neighborhoods as well. Of course, you shouldn't go and gather moss or buy preserved more panels after my speech. But as you know, nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I strongly believe in my idea, and that's why I'm sharing it with you now. So, why are we waiting? Let's do it, world!
Yaroslava has presented a very interesting idea, and I wish it would work out as soon as possible. Well, we have to move on and present our next category, Better Life Coaches.
Kate, tell me, how many books have you read this year?
Do we count Instagram posts or texts in TikToks or something like that? No? Right, okay, no paper books, unfortunately. Maybe 3 e-books a year or something like that. Well, I usually don't have too much time for reading.
Well, the situation with me, of course, is better. Around 10 books. But our participant, Maria Moshkivska, read 40 books last summer and as twice as many this summer. Quite the numbers, 40. Let's listen to how she managed to do it. Maria, you're welcome.
Right now, close your eyes. Don't be afraid, I'm sure your neighbor won't steal your stuff. Try really hard to imagine a world without reading. Imagine a day in your life going about your business without reading a single word. Immerse yourself into the feeling and let yourself stay there for a few moments. Now open your eyes and appreciate the fact that you can read any book out there in the world. While it's impossible to say the exact number of books, as of mid-2016, there were an estimated 135 million books. That means that every single day you'd have to read around 5,000 books to have any chance of reading every single book. So I hope you are a really fast reader and that you were born knowing how to read. That's amazing that there is such a huge selection of books and everyone can choose something unique for themselves. But you can ask me, "Oh, Masha, reading is so boring. Why should I even try?" Because reading not just brings us information. It entertains us, sparks our joy and wonder, makes us laugh and brings us to tears. Reading takes us to places we will never visit and makes it possible to find our way around places we do. Reading helps us understand each other, gives wings to great ideas and sometimes gives advice to bad ones. Reading brings life to our poems, movies and songs. If given the opportunity, reading transforms our life. It delivers culture and idea from generation to generation. It opens our mind to all that is good and sometimes not so good. Reading has the power to change us and to change the world. All right, so let's see. Are there any book lovers? Please be honest, I'm not your literature teacher. Raise a hand if you love reading. Raise a hand if you can make yourself read a book, but don't really like it. And now, raise a hand if you hate doing it. Okay, but what if I told you that all of you could become bookworms? Unbelievable, right? But I've been there myself. In childhood, I hated reading. Unlike my brother, my mother made us both read books, but my brother soon got used to it and began like reading. And I kept resisting and resisting. My mother always told me, read 20 pages and then you can go for a walk. Soon, my brother and I grew up. I didn't like to read and I didn't do it later. But it's surprising that my brother, who used to love reading, stops doing it because no one forces him. I thought I just wasn't meant to be a bookworm. And I resigned myself to the idea that reading is boring and not for me at all. But later, something happened, after which I became the most zealous bookworm. No, don't get me wrong, a book didn't fall on me while I was sitting under a tree. It was much more simple than that. I was given a book for my birthday. It's funny because I ask everyone not to give me a book, but apparently someone really likes me. So I decided to give the book a chance, overcame my hatred, and started reading. And you won't believe what happened. I really started to enjoy this book. I didn't stop at one book, it became my addiction. Pretty soon, I turned from that into this. Still thinking that reading is not for you? Well, I'm sure that reading is really for everyone. No one is naturally gifted with love or hatred for books. Everyone can be a bookworm, but it takes the right approach. After my first book and my growing love of reading, I wondered if I was doing it right. I googled how to become a bookworm, found a bunch of tips there, and guess what? They really helped me. Come on. In fact, all tips were like that. and I decided to go my own way. It wasn't easy to do everything at first and without any support. But now I want to share with you my tips that I discovered by myself and that really helped me. First of all, try, and try. Before I became a bookworm, I also read books, but why didn't I enjoy them? The answer is simple. They weren't my books. No, I didn't steal any books. The problem is that it wasn't my genre, my author, and even my choice. As J.K. Rowling said, if you don't like to read, you haven't found the right book. The most important thing when choosing a book, don't listen to stereotypes, such as reading romance novels are just for girls. What nonsense! As if a guy starts reading it, he will become like that. The second tip is to find your own way to read. Many people think that reading is sitting in a library on an uncomfortable chair and reading a book in a prehistoric state. But you can read paper books, you can read electronic books, or you can listen to them at all. It all depends on you. For example, when I tried to listen to an audiobook, I almost fell asleep. The next is to understand that reading isn't a routine. When I began to like reading, I often saw advice. Read 20 pages every day, read in the morning, read in the evening, read regularly. All of this had exactly the opposite effect. It discouraged all desire to read. The most important rule of the bookworms: read not for quantity, but for enjoyment. Never push yourself. Read only when you want to. And my last tip: decide to book club or not to book club. I saw advice about joining a book club. But the slogan of the book clubs is, if you read a lot and you don't have anyone to talk to, come and you will have a family. So these clubs are already for those who don't have problems with reading. But what do people who don't read much or just start doing it? So I suggest you to create your own anti-book club. It may consist only of your friends. The main purpose of these book clubs is to motivate each other and learn to get used to reading. Now, I'm proud to say that I'm a bookworm. Books are something that always give me joy, motivation, and strength to move forward. Without reading, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't given book a chance. I have shared my experience and tips with you. The rest, in your hand. No one can make you love reading, but I am sure if you want to be a bookworm, you will be one. I have faith in you. Thank you.
because we're told to do something like this. Yeah, and then you start thinking that you are not good enough. You start doubting yourself. You start comparing yourself to others. So, it sounds familiar, doesn't it? That is exactly the feeling that a lot of teenagers have. And you probably had it too. But I think that there's one great thing about this feeling. You start looking at others and noticing interesting things. And some of my classmates seem like extraordinary people to me. And now, let's imagine a guy that is very disorganized and likes wasting his time playing video games. So, a normal teenager, right? Sometimes he's lazy, like some of us you can see in front of you. Sometimes he doesn't even do his homework. And when a teacher asks a tough question, everyone tries to wrap their head around it, but nothing works. And then this guy finds a solution or an answer that nobody thought existed. How is that possible? Or why some of the lazy students are the smartest ones? It's kind of a paradox. Read books about success, and it says that in order to be successful and particularly smart, because intelligence is a great potential to be successful, we need to work hard, spend your time and energy, and then you meet guys that do nothing of this and are crazy smart. Or why some of the people that don't even do their homework can easily answer a question that seems difficult to straight A students. You can think that it's luck, but why do lazy people get it? I also can be lazy, but I don't have this luck in my life. So now, raise your hand if you ever wondered how a disorganized person can succeed in something. Okay, I'm not the only one jealous here. But the other reason why I want to focus on this so much is that when you're a perfectionist with a great sense of responsibility that has a long to-do list, trying to get everything done in order to be successful, you actually make your life full of feelings completely the opposite of what we might associate with success. I'm talking about stress, overwhelm, disbalance in life, doubt. And I had a very interesting experience. Everyone saw my accomplishments. Sometimes teachers shared some of my achievements with the class. Everyone knew that there was a straight A student with a high level of academic performance, participating in all kinds of competitions on astronomy, geography, history, and so much more. I love studying sciences. I'm curious about almost everything and like to analyze all things around me. So everything looks perfect, right? But no, I had a huge imbalance in my life. I used to go to sleep at 2 a.m. because I had a lot of homework and needed to prepare for all those competitions. I became kind of a robot, focused on doing things that needed to be done. I didn't have enough time to spend with my family and enjoy this life fully. And it made me wonder, how others try to be successful? Is there another way to do this? And I became kind of a spy. I was observing my peers. And I know it sounds really weird, but I got the answers that I was looking for. And let me share a set of skills that my classmates have. And those skills weren't so obvious to me. And the first one, setting priorities, or even the art of not caring at all. As I always love to say, life is like a balance between responsibility and the art of letting go. And my classmates are so great at setting priorities. Sometimes they can be like this dog. I also would like to have the magic system. When I enjoy my life, when some part of the work that I don't like can get done even without me being involved, and some teenagers live their life by following this magic system, and even some adults believe that it's possible. But unfortunately, this kind of magic doesn't happen. And you know, when I worry about something, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? But then it turns out that this thing isn't even important. And some of us tend to do that all the time. How do I look? I won't do that because it looks weird. I can't do that because others will think of me something strange. But it isn't even important. So think about this. Yep, another one. You read this right. It's a sense of humor. And as Mark Twain said, Humor is a great thing, the saving thing after all. The minute it crops up, all our harnesses yelled, all our irritations and resentments fleet away, and the sunny spirit takes their place. And some bad news, I'm a nerd, I don't have a great sense of humor. But as any skill, we can develop it. So, resilience to stress, cool atmosphere at work, building trust, we all can have the things just by adding more humor. And another one, going little by little. I also noticed that quiet students are successful in some way. They have friends, they still have free time, but when it comes to learning, they are quiet and extremely successful. So what can we learn from that? Being quiet? Probably not. The thing is that people that want to be successful also want to get everything very quickly. It is the main reason why so many of them fail. They want to see great results in a small period of time. They don't understand that being successful takes more than just spending your time and energy. It also requires patience and consistency. And now, let me give you a crystal clear example of how it can help, not just in studying or at school, but also in other areas of our lives. In 1983, Cliff Young, 61-year-old Australian farmer, took part in the Sydney to Melbourne ultramarathon. It is 875 kilometers long. There were a lot of professional athletes running that marathon, and nobody thought that Cliff could win. Some people were afraid that he could die in this race. At the beginning, Cliff was far behind others. He heard people saying that it's impossible for him to win at his age, plus without any sponsorship. But Cliff did win. He also set a new record. The thing is, he didn't stop. Professional athletes were running marathon for 18 hours and sleeping for 6 hours, but Cliff didn't stop and didn't sleep. He kept on running and kept on going. So I really want you to remember this. If you don't see any results, it's not the reason to get upset or even worse, to quit. Just keep on going and magic will happen. And right way to procrastinate. And now, let's imagine that you need to do something very important. For example, writing an essay, and you have just 1 week. What straight A students are going to do? Right, they will start working on the very first day, and some of them will be stressed out. And what our procrastinators are going to do? They will just read the topic of an essay and leave it alone for the last day. I'm not sure about their chances to succeed, but procrastinators will have more interesting ideas at the end, because their brains will think about the topic almost all the time. Do you find that interesting? But what is even more interesting, that procrastinators don't feel guilty about them being procrastinators. It is the main difference that responsible nerds and truly successful people have. If you want to be productive and stop procrastinating, the first step is to forgive yourself. We need to understand that procrastination can happen with all of us. It is a creation of anxiety and an overwhelming world. It's how we can escape from this stressful reality. And my changing of success one day was turned upside down. I was observing another straight A student. She's very responsible, kind, active, and amazing person. And I thought, wow, she probably has a perfect schedule while I'm overwhelmed with deadlines and projects. She goes back home after studying, does her homework very quickly, then she can rest and sleep for 9 hours, I guess. Of course, she doesn't have so much work as I do because I'm the one crazy like this, but still. And then, one day at 10 p.m., I was doing my homework, and I saw a message from her in the group chat. And she was asking for homework. I was surprised by that. I texted her back trying to figure out how it was possible. And as turns out, she is a procrastinator that likes watching memes on Instagram. And I found out another fundamental truth that night, that don't need to be worried and stressed out all the time. I was always thinking about my homework, and then I need to do that and that, but I shouldn't do so. Just relax and get back to work. Your life is better with less amount of stress and more creativity that actually does not come when you're under stress. It doesn't mean that you need to let everything go. No, you still can have things under control, but you need to do that wisely. And by this, I just wanted to remind you how important it is to have rest. Something that a lot of us forget to do. So don't feel guilty for resting. It's important. It improves your mood and your level of productivity. So you deserve it. My understanding of success significantly changed, but it's different for all of us. This is someone's success, and this is too. But for me, success is when you're happy doing what you love. Of course, we shouldn't forget about positive mindset, setting your goals, moving towards your dream every day, having a positive self-talk, never giving up. It is important. But this race of being more successful than others and comparing yourself to others, it isn't even worth it. The only thing that you need to compare is who you were yesterday and who you are today. Measure your own progress. This is your success. So, in conclusion, to be successful, you need to set the right priorities, have a sense of humor, go little by little, but confidently step by step, change your mindset about procrastination, and have rest. All the things I found out while observing my peers. You can do the same. Who knows? Maybe you will find some mind-blowing tips for the next generations. Thank you.
Thanks to Veronica. How cool our participants are. You know, Kate, I'm a little jealous of them. Nowadays, teenagers have so much opportunity for development, whereas online courses, internships, which help them to be successful and to get a lot of knowledge. Only a few years ago, there was no such diversity.
That's right, but you should take advantage of it. You need to get off your backside and start doing something. But unfortunately, many people either don't want to or are afraid of it. And the next motivational speech by Dmitro Palomar is for them.
Hi, raise your hand if you consider yourself an active person. I'm sure after my speech there will be more active people in this world. Today, I will tell you how to become an active teenager and eventually become an active adult and not to get into the next situation. I think everyone has heard that when we graduate from school and then the university, we go to get a job, and it often happens that companies recruit those who already have work experience. But we have been studying so long. When could we possibility to get the experience? As it turns out, the constructions of our future lives and careers begins much earlier. In fact, it begins at school. And now I would like to share with you a fable. One man dreamed of winning the lottery. Every day he came to the temple, knelt, and asked God, Lord, help me win the lottery. A month passed, the second. One day man, as usual, came to the temple, knelt, and began to pray. Lord, let me win the lottery. After all, others are winning. It's easy for you to do it. Suddenly, the Lord's voice was heard over his head. Well, but you have to do something too. Buy at least a lottery ticket. The reality is the same. You have probably noticed that both at school and college there are active people and passive. Like this man, do you think there are more passive or active people? So, the truth is that there are more passive people. Why? It depends on the person. Some of them don't understand why they have to be active. In this case, it's necessary to explain what activities give us. It is no new friends, more knowledge, acquaintances, and experience. And some of them are simply afraid. They are afraid of meeting new people, teamwork, and public speaking. In this case, you just need to force yourself or ask your friends or parents to push you. In my case, it was the same. At first, I was afraid to be active, but my mother pushed me to participate in various projects. She was registering me for events and trainings, but it did not work, because I was coming to those projects or events and just sat, did not touch anyone and almost did not speak. But I liked to participate in those projects. One day, my mother registered me for a project where I needed to talk to everyone a lot, and I could not avoid it. At first, I felt quite uncomfortable, and often it even annoyed me, because we needed to talk about our feelings and other things. But over time, all these activities helped me to become more open, calm, and at least more active. You may ask, okay, but where do I find these projects? There are various Telegram channels, social medias, and obviously teachers. Most of these projects and opportunities are completely free. And for free projects, there is usually competition or selection, and the best one gets there, which allows you to communicate, share skills and experience with cool and motivated teenagers. You can learn a lot from them and be inspired to become a better version of yourself. You may have thought, how did I get into these projects? Where was the selection when I was so inactive? For example, if you need to write an essay, you can ask for advice from your parents or friends on how it could be improved. What do you get by being active in all spheres of your life? I can tell from my own experience that you really get a lot. For example, I was at the Young Lawyers School. It was a free project that greatly changed my vision of my future life, where I was graduated with honors and also won an essay competition. Then I was invited to star in the TV show New Generation, which was dedicated to the 26th anniversary of the Constitution of Ukraine. And here it is possible to draw a parallel. If I had not been active in this Young Lawyers School, I would not been invited to star in the TV show. So, each of our activities give us results. But someone will say that it is very difficult, and they will be right. In fact, all these extracurricular activities take a lot of time and effort, so you will always have to perform tasks. But the result is worth it. You grow up and gain new skills. But someone thinks that it is impossible to study well at school or university and be active, that it is not enough time for everything. And even if there is enough time for it, you will live without any rest. I can say with confidence that it is not true. How it's possible? Inactive people spend their free time at home with phone games, social medias, and TV. But people who have a lot of classes try to optimize their time. Therefore, they learn time management skills and they can both study as well and participate in different projects. Moreover, you still have time to help others as a volunteer. And it isn't boring. Volunteering gives a lot of new knowledge and new cool acquaintances. For example, I took part in a volunteering project and there I met a girl who invited me to participate with her in another community development project. It happens very often that the people you met in one project invite you to the others. Here, we can summarize that all our activities build springboard into the future. First, it's just self-development. You gain new knowledge and experience that you will definitely need. Secondly, if you are involved into extracurricular activities, then you master different skills that you can use at school, which can increase the level of your performance. If you look a little further, you will see that school activities are a huge plus when applying to university. I know of many cases when the score of entrance exams were not high enough, but students were accepted because they were very active at school, participated in various projects, founded their own clubs, or developed student governments in their schools. Also, when there is a competition for scholarships at university, activeness is taken into account while choosing who receives a scholarship. And at work, it's a very necessary thing, because having experience will help your CV to get on the top of the list. Not to mention that you will have greater career prospects due your knowledge and can quickly start the work because you have already a lot of knowledge and experience. So remember, don't be afraid to act, and you will create a springboard for your wonderful, bright and successful future with your own hands. Buy a lottery ticket.
Dmytro has provided us with really important tips. Lately, lots of teenagers, and to be honest, not only teenagers, get stuck in video games and social media instead of improving their skills. But, speaking about social media, Irina, aren't you annoyed by the people who post only motivational quotes from great people? Looks like they have nothing to say by themselves.
I think that they are just ashamed to express their own ideas in their own words. That's why they use these thread sheets. They try to show that they are smart and do not bother. But our Maria Khmeluk has a recipe for how to express your own ideas and not to be afraid of it.
Maria is the first participant in the category of self-awareness gurus, and this is the category of performances with which we will proceed tomorrow. And now we are ready to listen to you, Maria. You're welcome.
Some time ago, one point came to my mind. Have I that clothes that I really like? Is that actually my style? Of course, not everybody cares about their style and almost about their attire, like my dad. Hoodie and shorts, rain or shine. Anyway, in my case, thoughts about my style just filled my mind. When I bought new clothes and wore them for a week, I didn't like them anymore. Only recently I've started choosing my outfit that way, which is fine by me. And meanwhile, have you thought of searching for your own style? If yes, I would like to share my thoughts about it with you. Last summer, when I was searching my Instagram feed, I suddenly saw a girl who was showing her wardrobe with odd or even creepy clothes. At first, this video repelled me. I thought that it is something extraordinary, and I thought that, what is that? Is that really like normal? But recently I started thinking that it could be something usual for me, that I could wear the same. Thanks to this discovery, I admit that we can search for something specific about ourselves. That nudged me to treat a selection of my look more seriously. What do you think? Did I succeed the first time? Of course no. I used to be always nervous when I didn't like my clothes. I seek to combine cool clothes to think the most suitable variant for me. And now I have 3 basic tips which will help you and help me once. First, ignore haters. There are people who tear you and your taste down. Just don't listen to them. If you like this thing, so you prefer to wear this thing, and it's your choice and it's good. Second, choose convenience. Baggy or skinny, just what is comfortable for you. Firstly, try on all types of clothes to choose the most comfortable for you. So if you wear comfortable, you can feel confident. Third, match to your wishes. It seems to be easy, yes? So, you can look through all the variations of your like, and then take some variations from there. Yes, my talk was a bit little, but I tried to gather all the specific and main ideas. One more thing I want to add, that continue experimenting. Don't be afraid of others' opinions. Thank you.
Guys, thank you, Maria, and thank to all our participants.
Once again, we remind you of our competition for the spectators, but even if you have forgotten about it, don't stress. You can once again listen to the speeches of our participants on the YouTube channel of Brainy English, decide on the ones you like the most, and justify your choice in the comments. Maybe tomorrow you'll be the happy owners of the prizes. We are really interested in your opinion, so be active and see you tomorrow.